Right, well, welcome again, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Caroline Bravent, class of 2008, and I'm here with our Office of Alumni Relations, Anna Gutierrez, 96, and Sabrina Ortiz, class of 2014. And so we're so excited to have you guys here, and even more excited to have Sarah Peel here to help us all with our dog issues. So just a couple of Zoom reminders. Remember to mute your audio while she's presenting. We'll have some question and answer at the end. If you have other questions in between, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll ask them throughout and we'll go back to them at the end. We are recording this session, so we will post it in our Whittier College YouTube channel and then also send it out through email on Friday. So, all right, Sarah is here. She's class of 2010, as I mentioned. She studied child development and animal behavior here at Whittier College. And she currently works as a special education teacher for the Whittier Union High School District. However, over the last 6 years, this avid animal lover has also built a successful business, Noble Rehab, focused on training and rehabilitating dogs. So working with numerous dog owners and local rescues, she and her business partner aim to create positive-based learning and teaching methods that will help more dogs get adopted and less dogs end up back in shelters, and also help us all as owners. So, many of us are staying home quite a bit these days, and we know while our dogs seem to love it, it's most certainly changed their routines around a little bit. So we're excited to have her here today to help us learn how to take advantage of that extra time we have with them, and also how to prepare them for when we do have to go back into the world every day. So with that, I'll let you take it away.
Yay, welcome. It is wonderful to see everybody join in today. I have some familiar faces in the crowd and wonderful to see you. And if I haven't met you before, it's wonderful to meet you. Welcome. I'm going to start by sharing a PowerPoint. I'm going to go over some of the how-tos of how to handle this quarantine life and then post-quarantine life. So how to prepare our dogs to be in a good state of mind when we do have to go back to work and we do have to go back to doing some stuff. And also, I'm going to address some questions that were asked that may not even have anything to do with quarantine. They just have to do with the fact that you're dealing with some stuff with your dogs. So we'll talk about it all. All right. The how-to and then some of establishing relationships for post-quarantine life, setting dogs up for success. First of all, relationship dictates behavior. So it's really important for us to realize that our relationship with our dog is what dictates a lot of the behaviors that we're dealing with. Not so much that we're making the behaviors happen or that it's our fault, but just that sometimes we need to give a little bit more guidance and a little bit more communication. Things that help relationships, communication, right? So our relationship with our dog has to be based on a communicative relationship. How are we going to do that? What helps our dogs? What are certain ways that we can do things to make sure we're setting our dogs up for success? The crate. Some people aren't comfortable with the crate. We can talk a little bit later about why the crate is such a great thing and how you can also mimic the crate in different ways around your home. Feeding drills. People who offer other people food, we all love to go to banquets and things where people are offering food. So one of the best things you can do to get a relationship that's really positive with your dog is offer them food, not just in their dish, but from your hand. And we'll talk about how you can build relationships by doing that. Leash skills. Just like my dad went to his hearing aid appointment today, I talk about the leash being a communication tool that makes it so that our dogs can hear us. Sometimes there's a lot going on. So we need to either hold their hand or speak in a way that makes it so they understand us. And sometimes that means shutting down our voice and making sure our dog is on leash so we can give them that little bit of guidance when they need it. Boundaries. Like any good relationship, our dogs need boundaries. And chances are, during this quarantine time, there have been less of them. That is okay. We can come back from that. Don't worry. So the crate, it's a place to sleep. It's a place to relax. It's also a place to just chill and decompress. Some of us use places around our homes to be calmer, to help ourselves be calmer. And you may be thinking, my dog hates the crate. If that's your answer right off the bat right now, email me after this is done so that we can talk a little bit more, because the crate can be a really, really great space for your dog. X pens can also work as wonderful little crate spaces so that you're able to give your dog its own space. Your decompression time may be in your room or in the kitchen making some food or sitting on the couch in your living room. Think of the crate as that space for your dog and helping your dog understand that. Most 2-year-olds don't want to go down for a nap when we ask them to, but when we lay them down, they end up taking that great nap that makes it so they can get through the rest of the day. Sometimes we have to teach our dogs that way as well. Meditation time. For some dogs, the crate is already meditation time. We don't even have to do anything. Some of you may be like, my dog loves their crate, absolutely loves it. So let's talk about how we can really use it to make sure that they're in a really good space now and when we have to go back to normal routine. It's a daily tool. So don't just think of using it when you quote unquote need it. Think of using it daily so that you're giving your dog an idea of what a coping skill may be. Oh, I see that you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now by your behavior. Let me give you some crate time so that you can relax and then come back out and join us. Feeding drills. Feeding drills are so important. I feed all of my dogs by hand as much as I possibly can. I make it into a fun time for all of us. So when I'm doing feeding drills, I'm motivating by food. So how to leverage positive moments and give communication. If I have my dog's food in my hand and I'm asking them to come towards me, chances are they're probably going to come over to me, eat that food out of my hand. I've just now leveraged a really great moment. I've asked my dog to do something and I've given them something in return. That sounds like a great deal. Now every time I call my dog's name, they're like, what? You're going to feed me every time I come over to you? Yeah, I am. So one of the great drills that you can do during quarantine time is to have that food set out that you would give to your dog at a certain time and take little handfuls of it throughout the day. Don't ever put that bowl down. Just take little handfuls of it throughout the day and give them rewards for engaging with you and coming to you when you call their names. What is luring? So I'm going to go over luring a little bit more throughout the presentation, but luring basically means you have food in your hand, it's close to their nose, and you're going to show them that you want them to move towards you or move in a direction. You don't have to talk a lot. You're just showing them with food. Here's food. Move towards the food, and then you get it. So the body follows the head or the nose. So anytime we move our dogs around with food, chances are they're going to follow us. And some of our dogs may not work for their kibble. They may need a little bit more enticing treat because we've shown them that we do have better stuff. My dogs live in a very neutral land. They're like, my kibble's great. My mom feeds me every day by hand. You were to give them something else, they'd be like, wait. It's like going to the house for the first time with your friend who has soda. You're like, excuse me? Soda? That exists? But it's okay because I feed my dogs really high quality food. And so I help them work for that food. And I can help you get to the point where you're just helping your dogs work for their food as well. Even if you've done really high motivation treats, even if you've given them steaks. I mean, we can go back to the point of just having them work for their kibble, which is a really, really healthy thing to do. We're home a lot right now. If you think about it, if you overtreat, we're going to have some dogs having some issues later on down the road because they're like, I'm used to getting a lot more food than I'm getting right now. Or maybe we get some joint. You know, you don't want to do any of that stuff with our dogs. We want to give them just the food that they need throughout the day. So why not turn their food into their treat? It's very fun. It's very, very fun for them and for us because it's that time that you get to love on them and do a whole bunch of stuff with them, but you're doing it for a purpose. So we're going to talk about purposeful interactions. Leash on. In order to make this a really purposeful interaction, we're going to keep the leash on. So even if you aren't holding onto the leash, it limits your dog's opportunities to kind of blow you off. We all have that dog who's like, come chase me. That game's funner for me. That's more fun for me. Just come chase me. So by keeping that leash on, you can give that little bit of leash guidance that says, hey, we're engaging right now. Leash skills. Keeping a dog on leash means having clear communication. So when you use the leash around your home right now, you're limiting the freedom a little bit. So you're giving your dog the idea that it's okay to be engaged with you and moving about and taking some direction. So that later on, when you have to leave them to go do stuff, you can do some little drills around your home, or you can do some little purposeful engagement to keep them in a really calm space and then leave your home to go do your daily activities. we're going to talk a little bit more about how a happy dog is one who's been engaged mentally. So making sure that we're not just taking for long walks, doing a lot of exercise. You can do stuff that also engages your dog mentally. Leash skills come into that. So layering pressure. What is leash pressure? When you have the leash on your dog and you're able to give them a little bit of leash pressure forward to say, come here, I'm calling your name. They start looking at the leash pressure as guidance. So you have that food, you're giving that little bit of leash pressure. Here you go, here's your food. Just in your kitchen. Normally your dog gets all excited, leash comes out, you're going out for a walk. So now you're gonna start practicing, hey, leash is on, we're in the middle of the kitchen, I have food for you. Here's a little bit of leash pressure. Some of you had questions about reactivity. Dogs being reactive, dogs needing a little bit more guidance, showing that they have some poor behavior choices that they're making right now. Leash skills all go in to supporting that because it helps us help our dogs with their impulse control. We're saying, look to us for guidance. We can help you. It's like holding a little kid's hand. You wouldn't let a little 1 to 2-year-old go across the street by themselves. You'd hold their hand. You'd show them where the safety parameters, like this is how we do this. So think of the leash as doing that. You're either putting on your hearing aids so that you can hear a little bit better, or you're holding someone's hand. Whichever one really sinks in with you and makes you feel a little bit better about that, that's what that leash is. It gives you more communication. It helps us build a clearer picture. So boundaries. Boundaries are hard. They're hard for us. There have been many times that I've walked over to get that second, third, fifth snack, or I've gone over to, maybe turn on my favorite television show while I'm doing some work. And I'm like, no, Sarah, stay focused. Come on, just because you're home, stay focused, stay focused, So boundaries, creating them for ourselves, creating them for our dogs. I don't usually let you do this, but we're all stuck inside. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And if you have done it, just stop doing it. Limit and leverage affection. You get what you pet. Write that down. You get what you pet. So if you're petting an overexcited, jumpy, barking, happy dog, they think they need to be in that state of mind in order to receive that affection from you. If you pet that calm dog who's sitting in front of you, looking to you for a little bit of guidance, engaging with you, you have that leash on, you go to put that leash on, you've gotten home, your dog's jumping all over the place. You give them a little bit of time to decompress. Now they're just sitting there kind of waiting for you. Love on that dog. Love that behavior that you want to see more of. Our physical affection is sometimes the greatest reward for our dogs. Not all dogs. Some dogs don't even like treats. Come talk to me if your dog is one of those dogs. But limit and leverage your affection. Make sure you're rewarding the behaviors you'd like to see more of. Limit time on the couch, bed, and chairs. I know that sounds a little bit intense because you're like, that's my favorite time to cuddle with my dog. Just make sure that it's permission-based. So you're inviting your dog up. Make sure that when you go to move your dog off the couch, if there's any kind of barking, snarling, snapping, if you can have people over and they can't sit down next to your dog on the couch because they're barking, snipping, doing any kind of that stuff, take them off the furniture for right now. Give them a really comfy bed to lay on the floor, put their leash on, and really encourage them to hang out on that bed. Because simply, your dog's trying to communicate. All behaviors are communication. So what they're communicating is that they're uncomfortable in the situation and they don't feel good about it. Not that they're mad or that they want to bite you. I mean, it comes across that way to us as humans. But for the most part, what they're saying, 99% of dogs, is I'm uncomfortable right now and I'd like you not to be in my space. So we have to give them some really great communication that says, here's a better place to go. I'm not going to overly put my physical presence on you. I'm going to just use this leash communication. I'm going to show you where I'd like you to go and give you a little bit more information. So people who asked questions about having people over to their house, or you have family coming over, making sure that when there's people walking by and your dog's barking, if you have them on leash and you're giving them a little bit more communication to stay engaged with you and stay engaged on their own bed in their own space, that's going to give them a little bit more impulse control and help take the pressure off of them. Because chances are they are just barking and doing those things because they think they need to. I call it the mailman syndrome. Everybody's like, my dog hates the mailman. Every single day, the mail person walks up to your doorstep, dog barks, sounds off, maybe growls a little bit. The mailman or mail person finishes their job, and then they walk to the next house. Nothing about what your dog did made it so that that person moved on. But the dog is like, I've succeeded yet again, you're welcome. You know, so and then it's patterned every single day that way. Dogs they pattern behavior. So, okay, I bark, they leave, I bark, they leave, I bark, they leave. Awesome, job done, success. So when we think of patterning behaviors with our dogs, we need to show them what we'd like them to do, give them guidance, and then pattern it and be consistent with it. If you're not saying no, you're saying yes. But no has to be neutral. So here's the kicker. Email me after this session if you need a little bit of help with this. If a no takes a yell or a lot of energy behind it, we've lost that moment of learning. A no needs to be more neutral. It needs to be stop what you're doing and go back to something that I'd like you to do. So that makes it so that your dog, your dog has to understand that no means stop what you're doing. And then it also has to understand what you'd like them to do. So we have to pattern all these really great behaviors first. By keeping our dog on leash, we're able to show them all the time what we'd like them to do around the house. By using the crate, we're able to show them that it's okay to nap for a little bit and then rejoin the party. No FOMO needed. You got this. Take a little nap, come back out and join the party. Sometimes people are like, my puppy, it bites all the time. I said, it probably needs a nap. Bitey puppies usually need a little bit of time to fall asleep for a little bit and relax, or they have to poop. So, a lot of things that we have to read into these behaviors, that it's not because they're acting out and they're trying to be crazy dogs and, oh, my dog, all these behaviors. No, they're communicating to you. And that's where I come in. I'm going to help you understand what those actually mean. Crate time while everyone is home. That is a huge boundary right now. It's awesome. Put your crate in the middle of the living room. Watch a movie and let your dog just relax in there. Let them eat their food in there. Feed them when they're going in there. Spread all the food all around. Let them clean it all up. Door open. Let them just experience the crate while everybody's home. It makes it so that they're able to have their own space to relax. There's just another way to incorporate crate time, because when you're doing it when everybody's home, then your dog gets to observe. And dogs are predators. I know that's like a trigger word, not a predator as in like it wants to go after anything, but they're observant. As a species, they observe. So dogs who are blind or sensory deprived, they experience the world in very different ways than other dogs do. So dogs who observe and are given the opportunity to sit in their crate and observe the world around them have less anxiety and less reactivity because they know what to expect. They pattern your behaviors. They're like, every time my human puts on their shoes, I know that they're doing this. Every time my human does this, they're doing this. So give your dog a neutral place to sit back and observe, where they're not having to constantly engage and be in this really high anxiety mind. We have to sleep at night in order to get through the rest of the day. Our dogs shouldn't be going from extreme excitement to exhaustion, sleeping. They should be able to sleep even when they're not extremely exhausted. So that's sometimes what we have to teach our dogs. So by using the crate, we're able to teach them to just relax, to just hang out for a little bit. Same thing like we like to do. Think of time in the crate and time away from you as your dog's time to relax. It's not a bad thing. You're not punishing them. You're not excluding them from all the fun stuff. You're giving them a little bit of decompression time. If you need help with the crate and making it a safe space, just email me. Let me know. The links will be included, an email sent out. So don't worry about having to jot this down right away or anything like that, but just let me know if you need help, because it's important to get ahead of this stuff, and don't stress about it. There is help. I can help you. So the biggest thing with quarantine right now, a lot of people are worried about socialization, not being able to get their dogs out to be with other dogs and to be with other people. Take this time as a great gift of time that you weren't able to spend before. I practice neutrality with my training clients. For 90 days after a new dog comes into the home, I ask that people not let their dog interact with other dogs or other people. Because when you're building a relationship with a dog, it's really important to be the most motivating factor in that dog's life. So we can practice that right now. We can go for our walks and we can wave to our neighbors from a distance and we can do all of these things. And when people have to come over and they're doing stuff at our homes, or if we have family, we can ask the dog to just stay engaged with us and not interact with other people or other dogs right now. Helping our relationship. This is not going to make them hate other people or other dogs later on. It's actually going to help them love to be around more people and other dogs later on because they've been given the time to observe without having to worry about interacting. It is the introvert's dream. Observe without interaction. Be apart without interaction. Think of some of our dogs as being very much introverts. They have an extroverted side where they like to go out and be with other people and do other things. But if we really give them that great relationship with us, then they're not distracted by life, making poor choices anymore. We're practicing neutrality. Life is a party for our dogs. We need to teach them that the party is within us and our relationship with them. So the goal, be the most motivating and important aspect of your dog's life. How does this all help with quarantine? Well, you get to do some luring training and you get your dog a little bit more focused on you. The body follows the nose. So we're going to talk a little bit right now about what it means to reward with food and punish with no food. So positive does not mean good and punishment does not mean bad. I am literally talking about operant conditioning, and these are ways that you can mentally stimulate your dog while you're at home. You don't even have to call me for some of this stuff. You're going to find success in it right away. It's just about putting your dog's food in your hand and making them follow you around and then rewarding them with that food. Feeding them in their crates, letting them have that time in their crate. So one more time, positive does not mean good and punishment does not mean bad. Not sitting here asking you to go and punish your dog and do anything else. I just want you to give food and not give food. So if your dog's jumping all over you, don't give that food. If your dog's barking at you, don't give them food. If they're sitting really politely in front of you, give them food. If they came running over to you from the other room when you called their name, give them that handful of food. If they laid down right next to you while you have them on leash, walking around the house, and you didn't even ask them to, they just laid down, walk over, grab some food, give it to them. All of these moments, just leveraging natural moments around the house. The more you keep your dog on leash right now and reward food by hand, the less anxiety your dog's going to experience when things change again, because they will be more tuned in to getting direction and guidance from you and less worried about having to make all of the choices about what's happening around them. Remember that relationship dictates behavior. So as long as we're working on our relationship and giving clear communication, our dogs look to us for guidance. If we're not giving very clear communication or we're super frustrated, our dogs do not look to us for guidance. And so I want to help you not be frustrated. I want to help you feel really, really good about the communication you're having with your dog. So if you're having anything over what we've talked about today and you're frustrated at home right now, please, 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 please email me. I'm still working as a teacher. I teach Zoom classes every morning with my students, but in the afternoons and in the evenings, I really look forward to helping people with everything that they have going on with their dog stuff. So if you're not bothering anybody, please email me. I'm going to go over some questions that were already given, and then I'd love to open up the questions to everybody else. So let me stop sharing on here. Okay. One question that was addressed real quick, curious to learn your thoughts on leash versus harness for a large dog. So harnesses encourage pulling just by how they are formed. So they pull on the chest of the dog. Most dogs are inclined to then pull a little bit more. And so the harness encourages that. For dogs who may have health issues where they need to wear a harness because they can't have anything around their neck, we have other tools that we use so that we can have really clear communication with our dog. But primarily, I feel that you should always have a leash on your dog, but that the harness, there are other better tools than the harness. So barking. Barking is hard, but you can do two different things. You can use a leash, keep it on your dog, keep your dog near you, just so that you can give them direction to move away from the things that are making them bark. Or you can get, there's like this thing called a pet convincer. It's not loud, it's a burst of air. And it's an interrupter. Instead of having to yell, or because I don't want you yelling or doing anything like that, it's just like quick burst of air. And then the dog's like, what the heck was that? And you're like, yay, come over here. I actually want you to do this instead. So I always say direction and correction, then direction. So same as like if, you were trying to get someone's attention, that's basically what you'd be doing. But we've yelled so much at our dogs and done so many, no, nah, nah, when we have barky dogs, that sometimes we've kind of muted ourselves. We're just kind of an extra barking dog in the picture. So if we do that quick interruption with the air and then we give direction, our dogs are like, oh, every time I bark, this weird burst of air happens. I'd rather actually just see what's startling me and then go run to my bed, because that's what my owner's been patterning over and over and over again, is that I feel this way and then she just sends me over there anyways. So I'll just do that instead. So that's how that patterning behavior kind of progresses. How to prepare a baby for a human baby joining the family, training for better boundaries. So definitely leash on, definitely crating. And then I like to do threshold training, but that's definitely something that I would love to work with you more on. So if you'd like to give us an email, I'd love to give a little bit more information on how we prepare dogs for babies. My general rule of thumb is that we teach dogs neutrality in all environments. And so teaching dogs to be neutral to baby sounds, baby smells, and different things around the home is the best thing that you can do. So you don't need an attentive dog. The dog does not need to tell you when the baby's crying, none of that kind of stuff. If you can help your dog just be relaxed and show them that you're taking care of all those things, then dogs are much more amped to growing up and being very relaxed and neutral around kid things that are happening. Topic, training tips for new puppies. Oh yeah, sleeping habits. So puppies, I love puppies. Before I did dog training, I was fostering a lot of puppies. So the best thing that you can do for puppies is give them regular potty breaks, monitor their food and their water, make sure they have access to things to appropriately chew on, limit their space. So crating early on. Right now, if you have a puppy, it's the perfect time because you are home. Set your timer to 3 hours, and every 3 or 4 hours, go out for a potty break and do a lot of crating and a lot of on leash, no time off leash, no freedom. That doesn't mean there's no playing happening. It just means that the leash is there to provide communication when you need it. I did call it a pet convincer. My little tip here is if you go to Amazon and you say pet convincer on there, you're going to come up with like a $30 tool. If you put in handheld bike pump, same thing, same CO2 cartridges, $9. So just, that's my little tip there. Sorry for the inventor of pet convincer. I doubt they're on this Zoom. But what about a stubborn dog who will not come at the off leash? Okay, so if your dog does not recall to you in your home when there are no distractions going on, they will not do it outside your home. So that's my general rule of thumb. Layer a really good recall from the living room to the bedroom, and then go outside and practice that with a long lead on. Reactivity when on leash, usually a dog who's very scared. So we need better guidance there, better communication. It's not saying that the dog doesn't trust you. They just don't trust the moment there. They're not trusting other dogs. If you have severe leash reactivity, like we may be going back at the leash or nipping at the air or any of that kind of stuff, please email me. If not, we may just need a little bit more communication with your dog and a little bit more engagement in home when there aren't distractions happening, so that when stuff does happen, you can give that little bit of leash communication to say, hey, let's hightail it out of there. You know, I like to give dogs the opportunity to get away from what's making them uncomfortable. We build threshold. So I always say, walk in the opposite direction of what's setting your dog off and keep watching them until you find that distance where they're like, oh, relaxed again. And then that's where you need to start working on stuff. Dog victim of larger dog attack. Yeah, any dog who's been attacked by a dog, please email me, set up a training session with me. We can start off with a Zoom session. It's the best way for us to start off with that information. We'll build up a lot of foundational training, and then I'll talk about how it's best to re-engage your dog in social situations with balanced dogs that you can trust. Because basically you have to pattern with your dog that things can happen around them and they're not at risk for being prey in that situation. So it's a hard thing to come back from, but you absolutely can. If they're lashing out at family members now, sorry, that was the second part of that, just have them on leash and don't have anybody engage with them. They need to learn that it's okay just to be neutral in an environment, that people can come in and out of your space and in your home without them having to engage. Chances are they're just a little bit on edge, rightfully so. So just giving them a little bit of space, saying you don't have to engage. Be careful with using treats when your dog is overwhelmed with outside stimulus, only because you're rewarding that state of mind. So we don't want to distract our dog with treats. We want to reward positive state of mind with treats. So we want to be able to give guidance, practice a lot more in home with engagement, and then take it out to the walks. This was a question that got asked on the chat. Okay, so sit and stay command. I don't use a stay command. I do duration markers. So I lure behaviors first. So I do a lot of like food in hand, luring the sit, and then I say break, and the dog comes to get the food from my hand. And so that's more of what I do. I don't do actual stays. I do implied stays. So dogs are in command until they have been released from command. Takes a lot of pressure off the dog. They're not anxiously waiting. They're just kind of, you know, sitting there waiting for me to give next direction. But that's all stuff that we can go over if you sign up for some training with me.
Sarah, there's another one in the chat regarding fireworks.
And, yes, in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes, in my neighborhood, the fireworks started. Yeah, the fireworks started this weekend and will go on for the rest of summer. Any tips on how to help dogs cope? Okay, so one of the best things that you can do for your dog right now with fireworks is to either help them be in a crate. I like to do an airliner crate with like a big blanket over the top with a sound machine and a fan. If your dog is not a fan of the crate though, and would not be comforted by either of those things, keeping them on leash in the house is the best thing that you can do. And then it's hard because you're like in the midst of stuff right now. So Zooming with me so that I can teach you how to do a duration place. So basically that helps the dog just relax and lay down, and the dog learns to pattern to find more comfort in staying in where they know their comfort zone is than needing to flee. So being scared is something that we're not going to fix, but we can help them with coping skills. So sort of the same as someone who's dealing with PTSD, we're going to give your dog coping skills. They're not going to like suddenly love fireworks, but we can absolutely make it so that your dog can be neutral and relax with fireworks going off and around, since that is going to be the rest of summer. You're right, which is unfortunate for everybody who is set off by fireworks. Very unfortunate. I don't like them either. Let's see. How do I start training a dog who is used to being at home with someone to being alone? So that's crate time while you're home. And sometimes that means creating them in another room. I'm a big fan of putting little, the internet Yi cameras up so that you can watch your dog and give feedback when you need it. If you're dealing with severe separation anxiety, like if you can put a crate in another room of your home, put the dog in the crate, walk out of your home, and the dog does nothing right now, you're good, you're in a good space. If the dog starts barking a lot and clawing at the gate of the crate and really trying to like get out of the crate, then we can talk about how you can work on crate drills that will help your dog pattern to feel much more relaxed and safe in there. So there's a really big spectrum there, but crating is the best thing that you can do for your dog right now, teaching them how to be okay in their own space while we teach them to, I mean, we have to practice that while we're home, so it's a little bit different, but I can help you with it, don't worry. How to calm anxiety, fear when your family and friends stop by. That's neutrality. So being on leash and telling your friends and family not to interact with your dog and giving your dog that space so they can just relax. Chances are they do not want everybody up in their space right then. And that doesn't mean they'll always feel that way. They just want some time, some reprieve. They don't want to always have everybody saying hi to them when they first get there. How to train your dog to be off leash. So I don't believe in off leash. I believe in always having communication with your dog. You did follow up that you wouldn't do, you know, off leash in a public place, but like at dog parks and stuff like that, I don't believe in dog parks. I think there's too many variables. We can't trust everybody who comes into the dog park, and we can't really trust everybody's. So like, I know people who purposely go at specific times to the Whittier Dog Park because there's only going to be specific people there that they know. And I love that because that's like puppy social time with everybody you know. But you just have to be really careful with off-leash stuff because the littlest thing can set your dog off and you didn't even know, like a lizard, you know, running after the same lizard or high drive stuff. So it's just better to get to know your dog really, really well and have a really reliable recall, and to always have some sort of leash, whether that's a remote leash or a regular leash on. Just always have some sort of communication with your dog. That 100% recall needs to be there. How to reduce nightly scratching and licking. Oh yeah, you know, that moment you decide to go to bed and then they're just deciding they're gonna clean their entire, that is an obsessive behavior. And so first I would check in with your vet and make sure that your dog doesn't have any underlying skin issues going on. Sometimes this time of year, just, it makes time, it's allergy season. There's a lot of itchiness that goes on, dry skin, all of those things. So check in with your vet first, and then maybe try a soothing shampoo that's neutral, doesn't have any, like a really good neutral shampoo. You can email me and I'll email you my suggestions. But yeah. That is the end of the list of questions that I received, but I would love, oh, here, I have more questions here. Sweet, okay. So, sorry, I accidentally made my chat go away. Okay. Barking in the car at big trucks, people walking by, and all dogs. So I practice a really reliable, relaxed down. So I call it calm on command. And I practice that in home first, and make sure that my dogs are really good at doing that calm. And then I ask them to do that same calm in the car. So instead of running from window to window, now I have a dog who loves to stick his head out the window. So I release him sometimes. I give him the brake command to go stick his head out the window and get the breeze in his ears and everything. But for the majority of my dogs, it's too much stimulus. So I ask them to be in a down and relaxed while we're driving, and that helps them a lot. But now that also requires work in home first before going to the car. When we had guests in the house, our dog was okay with them if they're sitting down. So still dog on leash, because movement, that's your dog trying to like control the room. My first dog, my first personal dog, she was exactly like that. Someone would stand up and she'd start barking, run over and try and like nip them. So the best thing that you can do is keep your dog on leash and give that little bit of correction to say, no, you know, stop barking, lay back down. But that requires doing that practice when no one's around, when there aren't any distractions around. So having that really solid, relaxed down, having your dog be really used to being on leash, so that when they're feeling a little bit insecure and they're like, oh, and you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see that in their body language. Oh, they're starting to feel a little insecure. Then at that moment, you're like, no, go back into your down. Remember, you're just relaxing. No one's interacting with you. And if we really pattern that for our dogs and we're really consistent with that, we start seeing our dogs not reacting anymore. They'll just kind of lay back. Okay, I know what to do right now. I've been practicing this. What are your top 3 training suggestions for a 12-week-old puppy? Lots of engagement. Lots and lots of engagement. 12-week-old puppy, so leash on and a lot of luring. So just follow my hand. Wherever the food goes, follow it. That would be awesome. And then to sign up for some Zoom training sessions with me, that would be my second. And then my third suggestion, it would be, leash, food, and then me. 3 suggestions. Okay. What if they love chasing squirrels, very prey reactive? Then we absolutely have to be on leash, and we absolutely have to be working on neutrality in home so that we can work on neutrality outside of the home. High prey drive is also just low impulse control. So everything with dog training has to do with impulse control. I always say that some dogs need training, all dogs deserve it. Some dogs are those dogs with really high prey drive. They're just jumpy at everything. They see something, just all over the place. Those are our dogs who really, really deserve training, because when they learn to have control over that impulse, they're like, oh, we get to see that bubbly, awesome personality without the need to get to that thing. So it takes a lot of the edge off of them, and it's very nice to see. Any other questions?
Yeah, anybody else? Feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to ask
Yes.
in person. Otherwise, we can keep putting them in the chat. Or like Anna, you show your puppy.
Yeah, show your puppy
right here.
I want to see all the dogs.
Licking your face.
That is so great.
Yeah, how to obey personal space with your dog.
Yeah, let me take off but I was going to ask, I think I put on the chat, like, what does it mean? Or like, they go from when you leave the house, they bark, and then they go into unison howling.
Yeah, when you have multiples.
Yeah, that would be a lot more individual crate time, and then practicing individually, and then hopefully getting everybody. Yeah, right now they're singing the songs of their people. It's I'm sorry.
And then what they do after, like if there's paper around, they chew it. Is that because they're mad because you left?
They chew what?
Like the mail or any paper or any paper.
Oh, yeah. So too much freedom. So yeah, it's basically anything they can do to get some feedback. So they're looking for some stimulation. So chew on that, chew on that, chew on that. Dogs use their mouth to feel out everything. So.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So less space and less stuff to get into. There may be a couple culprits if you set up a little camera who really need to be in the crate, and other ones who just relax. And you'll see when you crate those couple that all the rest of them start sleeping a lot soundly as well.
Yeah. I have one more in regards to like fireworks or when they're scared. I read somewhere online like that it wasn't good to say, oh, it's okay, don't be scared, that makes them.
No. Correct. You want to have them on leash, and you literally want to be ignoring them, basically. So
Okay.
Not ignoring them, like you're watching them and you're giving them direction to follow you and stay near you. And for some dogs, they just need to be in a crate space so they can like really bundle up tight, which is what I love about the airliner crates. They're cheap, off of Amazon. Put a big old blanket over the top, nice little sound machine, nice little fan to keep the air flowing. And then they can just have their little moment, But when you have them on leash, your dog doesn't feel like they need to flee everywhere anymore. They don't feel like they need to hide. They feel like they need to just stay right close to you. And so it's just like holding their hand. If you touch them and give them a lot of love during that time, you're telling them that their response is appropriate. And so that's when you get dogs who are in like a much worse space, because that's all dogs know.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
How do you feel about like the thunder vests? Are those helpful at all?
I think some dogs really benefit from them, but that they would be in addition to also having that leash on.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you can always make your own little thunder vest by just like cutting up an old t-shirt and just kind of.
There's a couple more questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Alex asks, is there anything specific to a dog that jumps on people as a greeting?
Yes. So if you have the leash on, you're able to give that leash pressure correction by just telling them no. So pretty much I have a rule of all 4 on the floor, unless you have a tripod, then all 3. But all 4 on the floor just simply means making sure that the second those front paws come up to jump, that you're giving that little bit of leash pressure to direct them away and saying no. And so, yeah, that's the best thing that you can do, is having follow through for that moment. Dogs live in very small moments. They're very by the picture. And so you either create a clear picture or the moment passes. So there isn't any correction afterwards that can happen. You really need to have that leash so that you can correct in the moment. Remote leash. Yeah, we live on a small ranch. So you would be a great, like the off leash would be great for you. So I use an e-collar technologies remote because it's a muscle stimulator. There's a lot of feelings and ideas about e-collar remotes, but I would suggest that you ask them to me if you have any questions or if you have any feelings about them, because they're just like a stim machine, the TENS unit that you put on for physical therapy, but much less stimulant. And it just makes it so you can tap your dog on the shoulder. So same as putting a little bit of leash pressure, it just creates constant communication for your dog and creates for much happier dogs. I've worked with some really shut down dogs, feral dogs who had a lot of issues with human touch. They would just go into extreme shutdown mode if you touch them. And so a lot of what we use with them are e-collars and leash communication, so that we can take the physical approach off of it and give them a lot of positive, successful moments. And we've seen great success with that. So for all dogs, I would suggest the e-collar as a tool, but especially if you're on a ranch and you don't want to be carrying around a 15, 30-foot leash.
I wanted to ask a question about your emails, if that could be posted in the chat by any chance. I have Lou, he's German Shepherd. Oh, you can't see him. He's German Shepherd Chow, and he was actually returned to the shelter maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
Because of his reactivity. So whenever he sees a dog, he just like barks. And so we're trying to, like, I do the find it. When I get really nervous, I throw a treat and say, find it in the back.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's kind of like rewarding him for being a little bit anxious, right?
I love the thought process that you had, though. You know what I mean? Like, you had the best of intentions, but I can totally help you just tweak it just a little bit so that you're getting what you want from that moment. Because I love what you're trying to do. You're just saying, don't worry about that. Worry about this.
Worry about this. Yeah. But he's really good with like commands. German Shepherds and Chows are so smart. We give him puzzles, but he's also prey driven. He's killed about 5 possums in our backyard. And so
if you think of puzzles and balls and all those stimulatory things, they're all things that help him stay on. So I'm going to help you teach him how to turn his brain off for a little bit and just relax.
Gotcha.
He's constantly thinking about things all the time. Every noise, every sound, like everything is making him think about stuff. And so if we give him the tools to say, hey, for the next 10 minutes, you get to just chill. You don't have to worry about a sound. He's going to be like, wait, this has been an option this whole time.
Awesome.
So yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Looking forward to talking with you.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, I think Stephen has one.
Yeah. Okay. So I have new neighbors. They've been there about almost a year.
Okay.
And prior to that, there was a lady, she had a small dog, so they were super quiet. So our new neighbors now have 2 kids. They have lots of people over all the time. And so now my lab, Brady, he goes crazy.
Yeah.
And
he might be a good candidate for the remote collar as well, just because it gives him the freedom to still be that dog who gets to go in and out and go outside when he wants to. But if you're inside and you hear him kind of acting up a little bit, you're able to give him a recall to just come back in and be done with it, and help him relax a little bit, because I'm sure it's just hard on him. It's just new. Everything's loud and exciting, and he's a lab, so he probably wants to be over there, partying as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
The other thing you can do is also just really work on having the leash on him and staying engaged. So like 6 or 7 times throughout the day, if you call his name and he comes running over to you, have some treats waiting for him.
Okay, I'm
That
trying
way
to
you
do
can-
that.
Yeah.
We say quiet, and he'll come to like an area on the patio, and he'll go down. I'll say stay and go down. He will go
good.
down, and he'll stay there, and then I'll give him a little treat.
That's great. If it's
But
working
then-
for you, keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as he hears something, he'll take off.
Yeah. And there's the follow through. So I would keep doing exactly what you're doing because it's working for you, but then
Right.
just have that leash on so that when he does go to take off, you can be like, back to your
Okay.
place.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
All right. So again, Sarah put in the chat. It's info@noblerehab.com. We'll make sure to link every way you can contact her in the follow-up email as well. So if you have any questions or you do want to, get a training session, or like I said, just have some questions for her based off of this session, feel free to contact her.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot.
Thank you.
I have a lot to work on with our dogs. And we so appreciate you spending some time with us today and helping us all out with our puppies. So
Thank you for having me.
awesome. So
Thank
thank
you.
you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.